was worried I wasn't going to wake up on time today to do anything before Michael got here to help me hopefully finish the zipline. But that was because I didn't count on Ziggy not going to the bathroom last night when I got home, and instead deciding it would be a good idea to wait until about 4:30 this morning. So, been awake for a while, got a video edited, it's uploading now, and I'm out walking him now that it's light, and the sunrise is absolutely beautiful. I'll turn the camera around. Can't do it justice, but maybe you'll get some sense of how pretty it is through the trees. The weather we've been having recently has resulted in some dangerously slick walkways, not to mention the end of our driveway and our road, which, for some reason, hasn't been sanded yet. Someone in our road association is responsible for calling the plowing sanding guy. I'm sure they've done it, and I'm sure he's very busy. This weather's been weird. But in the meantime, I've texted Michael to be careful when he slows down to turn onto the driveway, and I'll be using some of our excess ashes from the wood stove, which make great ice melt that isn't harmful to the dog's paws like commercial salt compounds you find in the hardware store. Plus, in the spring, the ash makes the lawn grow nicely. Now that things are, hopefully, a little safer, it's time to cut out the zipline seat. I've been saving these 2 spool tops, which I found for free, to make some tables. But I've had them for a long time, and I still haven't managed to find time to do it. So I guess it won't hurt to use one for this project.
What size is it, do you remember?
It's this size, actually.
What size is that? Because I want to get a deep socket.
1/2 inch.
Okay, I think we should cut it about here.
Okay, will that give us enough to double back over a thimble and get those things in there? It looks like it will.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Okay, Pee-wee, let's do this.
So, we need the power cord, which I happen to have right here.
Yeah, where did I put my teeth?
Oh, you left it in there, didn't you? Yeah. Like a chump. Then it was time to cut the cable. This actually made me fairly anxious, though I think I hit it well. If you recall from a previous video, it was hard to find this cable, and even though I got a great deal on it when I eventually did find it, it was still a lot of money. And once you cut it, that's it. There is no uncutting.
What? No.
What do you mean no? What's wrong with you?
This does nothing.
Oh, you want? Yeah. I'll get up there. You can.
No, we're good. Hang right there with it. Yep, that's fine.
That was for dramatic effect. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, isn't it?
I think we should have used a hacksaw. Remember, as we're tightening this, to come up and put the blocks in on this tree.
Yep.
There's no sense in doing it now.
We won't forget.
Okay.
Well, I don't think we will.
You just meet me. I've already forgotten. What's our next step after this? The other end, right? Yep. All right, I'm gonna go get the 4-wheeler.
We're gonna go have lunch, but we want to get everything set up first. We're, I think, finally at the point where we're gonna actually start putting tension on the cable. And I think we've got everything set up in the tree down there. We screwed a couple of separators so that the cable doesn't wrap into the tree and hurt the tree as much. We're gonna set up the four-wheeler behind this big maple because we're not sure that the four-wheeler has enough power and weight to put as much tension on the cable as we need. So that's what Michael's doing right now, is just putting the four-wheeler behind that tree. I think we're actually gonna have to come up even higher because the cable will go out quite a ways and we want to be able to use the entire thing. But we're just gonna get set up and maybe put the clamps on the cable. That's one thing we figured out, is we're gonna have to put the clamps on the cable before we start pulling it, because once we put tension on the cable, the two ends down there are going to be really far apart and we won't be able to squeeze them together to put the clamps on. So we're just going to put the clamps on really loosely so that hopefully the cable will slide through. I don't know if that'll work. It may cause all the clamps to be jammed onto one end, is one thing I've considered, but I don't know how else to bring the cables together. So we're going to put the clamps on and then we're going to start pulling, and once we get it tight, we'll clamp them down and then we'll test the difference in the slack. So there's a maximum amount that the weight of a rider can pull the cable down, and if it's more of a differential between when it's tight and when you're at the bottom, then you have to tighten it some more. So anyway, we're gonna get set up and then go have some lunch.
And then, after 3.5 days into a project that I thought was going to be way quicker, it was time for the cable to actually start going up.
Hey, let's go get some food, man. This is awesome. Oh, damn, that's cool.
I can't wait to hear that noise. Also, ow!
We ended up feeling very triumphant and successful with how easy the cable began to tension, and went pretty far with it before breaking for lunch. Then, after eating in front of the wood stove to warm up, we decided it was time to start adjusting the tree spacers, which keep the cable from biting into the trees on each end of the zipline. Companies that sell components for ziplines sell manufactured systems for this purpose called tree savers, or tree saver blocks. If you've watched this channel for a while, you'll realize there's almost no way I'm going to buy something like that. It's just a thing to keep the cable off the tree. So I'm going to make mine. I've watched a lot of videos about zip lines, and that seems to be pretty common. I'll be using pressure-treated lumber, and since the rink ground was leveled and I no longer need to build up the walls as high to retain the water, I have some pressure-treated lying around, which means I don't need to spend any extra money. All we need to do is cut channels into the wood so the cable doesn't slip up and down the block. Then, we're good to go. Once those were in place and we put some more tension on the cable, it was finally time to test the system. The instructions manual I received with the trolley and braking system is pretty emphatic that under no circumstances is a person supposed to be used as the test to determine if your slope and slack are correct. I'm assuming all zipline companies have the same instructions. That seems like common sense. The question is, what do we use? Michael and I hemmed and hawed for a while, considering different options from buckets of sand to simply tying a rope to the trolley and finding the lowest point on the cable and hanging on it to test the slack.
I don't know, man. I want to find. I'm not real thrilled with you being the tester. Well, here's what we do. We get some more rope, and we just tie the rope to the trolley. We get to wherever we want, and I yank on the rope. I'm just worried about it giving way and cutting me in half. Cutting you in half? The whole cable coming in and whipping me in half. Yeah, let's hope that doesn't happen. That's my biggest fear. Are you serious? Of this whole process? Yeah, that's the thing I'm like, oh, that makes me nervous. He's a scientist.
I am constantly expecting that cable to let go and come whipping up my body.
All right, so that went really well. We've got it tensioned. We don't know if it's enough, but we came back up here to put the bungee brake on and put the trolley on, and suddenly realized that we have turnbuckles sticking way out past the platform, and it's like, well, how's the trolley going to go down those? But then Michael pointed out that when we tension them up, it's actually going to get closer, so we're hoping that we'll be able to tension it enough without making it too dangerous, and everything will work out. And if not, we'll have to take it off, maybe take out one turnbuckle, but that was frustrating for a minute. But at any rate, what we're trying to do now is figure out how we get up there to put the bungee brake on, so we can have that set before we start putting a lot of tension on it. So that's what we're doing now.
What?
Yeah, you are glad we're doing this at my house.
Why?
All this stupid is getting out of the way.
Yeah. We're gonna do mine in a day.
So it doesn't matter which way that crack faces. Because there's 4 bolts in the damn thing. Alright, so we've got the bungee brake on, and we think we've got the tension at least to a place where we can test it. So we're going to get up and start messing with the turnbuckles, and I'm going to put the trolley together and put this carabiner on. I bought this back when I was in college and I was into rock climbing, and I never really used it for anything other than to hang stuff off of my backpack, and it's a pretty serious carabiner, so it's never been tested. And in other words, it's never been stressed. I've never fallen off a cliff with it. And I know it can be used, and it's very beefy. So this is what's going to hook the seat onto the trolley. I'm going to put that together now. This is super fun. I think it's fair to say Michael and I are both very excited about this.
We'll just leave it like this. What could go wrong?
What's the worst that can happen? Hey. So yeah, Dan and Rachel got me this for Christmas.
Wow, man.
They went to this brewery, and they went on a Vermont brewery tour. You know they were doing this.
Thanks for sharing.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for helping.
Ooh.
That's tasty.
Wow.
So in early March, I have to go to
That's something else,
Massachusetts
that's
for
right.
work.
Yeah.
And on the way back, I have a meeting in Vermont. Pretty sure I'm going to try to find this place.
Yeah.
After hauling these 2 massive tires up the hill and getting them up onto the platform, it seemed an appropriate time to share a really good beer with a friend, raising our glasses to each other and the work we were doing and enjoying. Stay tuned for the final installment of this Zipline build, where we start by sending these tires over the edge.